Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. This episode of Slam the Gavel is sponsored by CPS Protect Consulting Services. Child Protection Services case is one of the most frightening experience for any parent. Don't face it alone. Face it with confidence with Urgent Assist by CPS Protect. You can have access to former CPS investigators to make sure you preserve your rights and protect your family. If you're facing CPS involvement and aren't sure where to turn, their child welfare consultants can help you. Visit cpsprotect.com/subscribe and enter the coupon code Slam the Gavel for 10% off your first year of Urgent Assist. And this is available in all 50 states. I have another announcement. Bradley's mother, Narcus Golan, passed away 5 months ago. He is autistic and needs structured routine therapies, and he receives for his autism 6 days a week. However, Italy just entrusted Bradley to Italian Social Services. If he is ruled to go back, he will face the next 3 to 4 years in the Italian foster care system where he can't speak nor understand the language. He will also be taken away from the family that he has only ever known. Please call Governor Hochul at 518-474-8390. That's Governor Hochul at 518-474-8390. And to please keep Bradley here in these United States. Hashtag keep Bradley safe. I have a brand new guest on. I have Raymond Sipult all the way from Kansas on. He's a concerned parent and advocate. And what has happened in his story is his daughter was privately adopted out by St. Francis Ministry at 2 years old. And however, they had given him his 7-year-old son, and he now has sole custody due to the mother signing off her rights. And we're going to talk about his case, which is closed, but there's more going on to his case. I welcome you, Raymond Sipult. How are you doing with everything?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is your son adjusting to being back?
I think he's doing fairly well now. At first, it was pretty rough. He's nonverbal autistic, and there's a lot of things he can't tell me, but I think it was a very traumatic experience for him when everything was going on.
Mm-hmm. Was he in a foster home, or how did they take him?
They separated him from his sister almost right away. They put his sister with prospective foster parents, and then they shipped him around to various different people.
So he went from foster home to foster home is what they did to him.
For over 2.5 years. Mm-hmm.
So now when he was there, you don't know if there was any abuse done to him.
No, what I do know is what I was able to document. And last time I checked, I think there was about 15 police reports documenting it. I think everything was done to him except possibly being sexually molested. But I know for a fact that he was starved and he was beaten because the photos tell a story.
And you had police involvement on that?
Yeah, and the police wouldn't do nothing because in Kansas, when you have an ex parte order, they allow the adoption agency or whatever's stepping in. I call them professional kidnappers because they're good at how they lie. But yeah.
Oh yeah, they are very good.
So they're very good narcissists.
Very good. And the most evil, malignant type of narcissists that I have ever found, in my opinion. In fact, I had
an ex-wife, but it didn't compare to that.
Oh my God. Well, in my book, I called my caseworker Lilith, who is the demonic entity that tortures children in their dreams. But you know, they are terrible. And so the police didn't help you. And
No.
um your was it a caseworker or social workers that you were dealing with?
Well, see, that's the thing. Once they get your kids and they get removed, see, my incident started because my ex, she got on the news for whatever reason when she was carrying around a knife and she got put on the news. You can look it up. It's called Cake News. I put down the knife and listened to the police. And all I can say is because of that interview or whatever they did,
Mm-hmm.
the very next day, I mean, my wife is like trying to put her hands on me and stuff, acting crazy. And I told her just to get out of my house.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing I know, we're all sitting in jail, even though I called the police and asked for help.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they do that. Put, you know, both of individuals in jail at the same time when you call for help. I don't get it why they do that.
Well, and I'm a man, so I mean, not to be sexist or anything, but if a woman says that a man hits them, you get a bunch of cops around, it's going to be a whole nother story whether you did or didn't.
Hmm.
And they're not going to take your word for it.
But then they took you both to jail, huh? And then you probably weren't in there that long, and
About 3 days.
3 days,
I
that's
couldn't
long
come up
enough.
with $275 to bond out because I had just paid my bills.
Oh no.
So I think it was planned on her
Right.
part because conveniently enough, my phone got broken the night before. And I don't know. There's just too much that shows she was premeditating it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And not to mention, names, and she's a little bit younger than you.
Hmm.
So there's an age difference of what would you say, roundabout?
10 years.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say.
Mhm.
So, you know, um, so she signed off and you have your son, but there's more going on in the background of your case. Do you want to tell
Yes,
us about?
I have a mass federal tort that I've joined with several other individuals in order to address the atrocities that were committed upon me and my family.
Hmm. When did you all start that?
Um, I'd say about October. October was the time it was filed. Still no answers. I mean,
Well,
wait, I guess.
okay. Well, at least the case is alive. It's good that the case is alive.
Mhm.
And so how many of are you are I can't even talk this morning. How many of you are on this?
Um, I believe there's 8 active right now. I may have that number wrong because it changes.
Uh-huh.
In the beginning, I think there was 35 to 45 people
Wow.
all over the United States.
And they're all in on this mass federal tort.
Yes, we're all
Wow.
plaintiffs. Hmm.
38 people.
A lot of mad parents.
Yeah. So do you have an attorney? Do you all have or just, is there someone?
No, pro se litigants for the most part.
Mhm.
We have like groups and things like that where we get educated or we increase our knowledge to
Mhm.
where we can kind of help ourselves in our situation.
Yeah, that's impressive that everyone came forward to do this. Um, and what city is this in?
Where the suit is? I'm not sure. I know it's in North Carolina court, lower federal court.
Okay. North Carolina. How did you get it down there? Uh, is this where your case originated from?
No. I got there because of an agency or an organization called Save Our Children Truth Commission, and they believe that parents have a fundamental right to parent their children, and that it shouldn't be infringed or controlled by the government. So I guess the big thing is we don't co-parent with the government,
Right.
and we don't believe that government actors did their job correctly.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. So that Save Our Children, if anyone wants to try to find them, how do they locate them?
You just get online and you type in saveourchildrentruthcommission.org.
Truth Commission. I'll put this in the podcast notes. .org. Okay. That's good to know. And that's in North Carolina.
Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
So this whole mass federal tort is taking place in North Carolina, and other people can join in as well as you go along, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially if you have the same agency in question. I mean, other people have different agencies, but in
Mhm.
Kansas, St. Francis.
Mm,
But you might be in Missouri, you might be in Florida, you might be in California. It doesn't matter. They'll reach out to you and help you if they can.
that's excellent. See, a lot of people don't know this when they're going through these torture tactics and the destruction of our families by these inept caseworkers with very little education or even children of their own.
Well, that and they're often not licensed either. They're not required to be licensed. And the issue I find wrong with that, I don't know about you, ma'am, but I have an education above a high school diploma. And I feel that if somebody's going to make decisions for me and my children, that they should have an education higher than a high school diploma and a license and credentials, but many of these individuals don't.
Mm-mm.
And they're the ones writing the narcissistic opinionated reports.
I can agree with that. Um, sometimes they have, like a degree in early child learning development or something like that. It's like that's not helpful. That's a
Mm.
that's a one of those other, I think, useless degrees. I mean, other than if you're going to go forward and become a teacher, maybe,
Yeah.
but they think because they have this child development degree, they know everything about children and your children and how you should parent your children.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
What did the caseworker see? Because some people say, well, I had a social worker. And I said, well, were they really a social worker or were they just a caseworker? You know what I mean? Did they have credentials or just a caseworker?
Well, I had a caseworker, I had a family support specialist, that was quote unquote supposed to help me finish my goals to get my children back with their ransom contract. And I thought that if I did what I was requested to do, like the parenting classes and the budgeting classes and all the classes I didn't need, I mean,
Oh,
uh, and the reason I say I didn't need them is because I had been taking education courses for years. Because it's like I knew something was coming, but not like this.
mm-hmm.
So they make you do all this, and then they say that it's more than checking off a box. And and if you don't know, they get funding the longer they keep these children in care. So if they keep the children in care and say that the parent has an issue and the child can't come home, then they're collecting a paycheck while you're spending money because they don't pay for those services. You pay for them out of pocket.
And
And last time I checked, I think I paid about $3,000 for $20 here and there for a course to go to, but yeah, it added up.
right, a lot of parents can't afford that. I mean, and just because a parent may have a low income doesn't mean they are not capable of taking care of their kids. Uh, these alphabet soup agencies, I feel, should be abolished.
Yeah, they should. They should. They should close them down and get rid of the privatization. Because the privatization, I think, is what really makes it corrupt. If it was public, then everybody would know, but we all know children in foster care are invisible children because nobody knows they're there.
Hmm. Now, tell us about the privatization. What is that? In
The,
case
pri-
other people don't know, sorry.
the privatization is where different agencies will apply for contracts from the state, and I'm not quite sure how they get their funding. There's more to that, but
Yeah.
it's something on the government budget website for the state that you'd have to look at when they apply for their contracts. I think Kansas has 4 or 5 major providers, but St. Francis encompasses most of Kansas, so
Mhm.
they're the big one.
Mm.
And then there's TFI and DECA, and I think maybe a couple other ones. Cornerstones of Care is one. Cornerstones of Care has been in the news too
Huh.
for children dying in custody.
See, people don't know this. I watch the news. You watch, but there's nothing.
Mm-mm.
Nothing.
You have to dig for articles, and you have to really know what you're looking for, and it's almost like a group effort to find these things out because your
Mhm.
doc, they think you've forgotten about it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so horrible that, they took your daughter and just when they privately adopted her out, did you know, or did that come as a complete shock, or what? Or how
No,
does this
no,
work?
my own public pretender had told me that she wasn't going to say nothing, and then when I requested her to file an appeal, she kind of filed one, but not really. And the courts
Um,
told me that I didn't have a right to an appeal. So right away, I was denied a right to an appeal, which is the most basic right for anybody that goes to court. I don't care if it's criminal or civil.
mhm, mhm.
And just so you're aware, these proceedings aren't criminal and they're not civil; they're administrative.
You know, and were you allowed to have family members in there, or was it closed off?
They would pick and choose who they would allow in there, but for the most part, my parents were able to come.
Mhm.
You had to be a party to the case, and then the judge had to decide if you were a party.
So you couldn't take a bunch of court watchers in there with you?
No, I was allowed a parent advocate on a couple of occasions, but they weren't very helpful until I got to my last advocate, and she was very helpful,
Mhm.
helping me document and understand what was being said. Mhm.
Well, that's good. How did you find the parent advocate?
I was actually displeased with my advocate that I had and told them that I was looking for a different advocate, and they handed me a business card, and that's how I came to her.
Mm. Well, that's interesting.
Mhm.
And, I'm sure your stress level was, sky high. I know mine was, you
Mhm.
know, and, did you have like, helpful relatives that, wanted to see how you were doing? Or, because sometimes family members will say, "Well, we're tired of hearing about this," or, "You've talked about this all the time," or, were they comforting to you, or did they just walk away?
No, like my mother and father, they've pretty much been there the whole time. Um, a lot of friends and stuff that I thought I had done stuff like that. Got tired of hearing it, and I was like, "Well, it's not your problem." Bye.
Mhm, mhm.
Because at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to sleep with my own problems. It's not anybody else.
Hmm.
So I kind of distanced myself from a lot of people.
Right. See, a lot of people don't realize when this happens, they think it's not ever going to happen to them until it happens to them. And then you
Mhm.
find out who your real friends are.
And I've had friends it's happened to too. And then they come and they say the same thing, and it's like, well, you didn't want to listen when it happened to me, buddy. I could have really helped you, but
Mhm.
it's not a rude thing. It's just if you're not going to be there when somebody's at their worst, you can't be there when they're at their best.
Mhm. Yeah, I just think friendship should be loyalty and, not a fair weathered friend.
Mm.
I just, especially when it's something so tragic like this. And you don't even know who adopted your daughter out. You don't even know where she's at.
Mm-mm.
No.
I don't see. They don't tell you those things because of the confidentiality
Right.
matters. It's confidential, but they can sit there and talk bad about you in a courtroom, and you have to argue it. So
That's
some
terrible.
things you never get the answers to.
Mhm. Now, I'm sure your caseworker, whoever that was, I'm sure she got on the witness stand and perjured herself all over the place.
No, they never even got on the witness stand. See,
Mm.
I was denied a trial. I asked for a trial, and they told me I didn't have the right to one. So what they did was they have what they call an administrative hearing because they can have as many as they want, and
Mhm.
that's how they get away with it. They actually ordered me out of the courtroom while they did what they did, and they would let me back in.
Oh,
Well, it's a
no.
judge. Who's going to tell the judge what to do?
They
You go
do.
to jail and you lose everything because of a contempt.
Oh,
You know,
so they just ordered you out. What was their reason for ordering you out?
they said that because the cases were joined, they were trying to say that they weren't because
Mm.
they took two kids and then they tried to say they only took one, or there was only one to argue about. It just changed. It varied, but it was like never. When I tried to get the court reports of what was said in there to appeal my case, they denied them to me and gave me my money back.
So many constitutional violations here. People
Hmm.
don't realize. When my caseworker got on the stand, she perjured herself all over while calling me a perpetrator, at least in the transcript. I think I counted 26 times at least, like I was a criminal.
Hmm.
And the judge always, and I was warned by another nurse that these judges will just listen to CPS and they'll do whatever they say. Now, there's something wrong there too, because can't a judge think for themselves?
The problem is they have qualified immunity, so they
Yeah.
have titles. So with qualified immunity, I can get on the stand and call you all sorts of nasty things, and you have to argue it. Whereas in another court, you'd probably sue me for saying those things.
Hmm.
Not there.
No,
Just go
no,
for their job. They get away with it.
they do get away with it.
Even if a child gets murdered, beat, tortured, doesn't matter. They weren't responsible. There's no sense of um, responsibility. There's none. They just go to work and collect a check.
Hmm. No accountability either. Even with the judge, when they hand over a child to an abuser or something like this, and a child dies, they don't get any
Mm-mm.
repercussions.
No. And that's just like with my ex, they would give her more parenting time while she was feeding the fire with things about me that weren't true. So while she was getting more parenting time and I was getting restricted,
Mm.
CPS was coming in my home listening to her lies. I mean, they would look for everything, drugs, alcohol. I don't do either.
Mhm.
Um, you name it, hair follicles, UAs.
Mhm.
I think they wasted a lot of money.
Oh, of taxpayers' dollars, that's all they do is waste taxpayer dollars.
Hmm. Hmm. I think I got UA 35 times over the course of 2 years, and I never had one dirty UA. And
Mhm.
I got a 16 or 17 hair follicles. Never dirty.
No. And
They
in
just
case,
did it to torment me. Every time I'd ask for more visitation time, they'd say, "Here, go take you
oh,
in."
that's, I want to say legal abuse, but that's also harassment. If anyone's wondering what a UA is, it's a urinalysis. And I'm so sorry they did that to you. And, you know, your son, is he in counseling from all this trauma that they put him through?
Well, I'm being nonverbal autistic. I have yet to find a counselor that could actually take it on. I've taken to several counselors for help, but then they just kind of look at me like, and then I already know what's going on. They're not going to help.
Oh, well, they're probably not even qualified to help. They probably aren't, they don't have the, I don't know, credentials to help a person with that disability.
Hmm.
Now, do you keep in touch with all these other pissed off parents?
Oh yeah, yeah. We have like meetings and stuff, and
Mhm,
yeah, kind of outreach, ask people for help.
mhm.
It's kind of like a support system.
R Oh, definitely. And that's what people need is a support system, and because they're just running rampant, tearing up families. And
Hmm.
I think it's 1 in 3 families will be touched by CPS in their lifetime.
Oh yeah. If you ever apply for food stamps, disability, any type of state assistance, you're automatically a target. Automatically, because they have your info.
Mhm.
They have these wonderful background tools that they should be using to help people, but they're using it to help against.
Mhm. Yeah, they definitely work against, um, parents, you know, and this has been going on for so long. It's really, I just don't know what to say. I'm just, every story I hear is just so frustrating, and it just angers you, you know?
Hmm.
Now
There's really nothing you can do other than talk to other people, and I call it buying time. Like maybe you can get them an extra couple months in court so they can see their children, but some people get their kids back, and then other people they don't. So I don't know. It's different for everybody.
mhm,
Some people want their kids, and others they figure, oh well, I can start over. Now you can start over as a human being with the conscience that you got rid of your children. I don't really see that as a good moral compass.
mhm. Yeah, that's a shame. I just don't know. I mean, there's so many personality disorders out there
Hmm.
that are, you know, again, with no accountability, making false accusations, shooting out silver bullets of either, you're mentally ill or you're batshit crazy or you beat me up or, you know, whatever they can throw out. Even the term parental alienation, which technically is child psychological abuse, and that term is being abused in the courtrooms all the time,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and parents don't understand when they go into a courtroom, the right thing is not going to be done.
Because even your public pretender is going to be in on it.
Mhm.
That's what people don't understand.
Right. Um, People need to know that all these bad actors are all linked together. So, for instance, you get a judge. So go on LinkedIn, look him up, see who he's connected to,
Hmm.
and lawyers, guardian ad litems, parties, and start connecting the dots. And a lot of people find, oh, they all knew each other. They all knew that how this was going to go.
Hmm.
as also what happened in my case. I hear this all the time. And I'm sure you're an advocate. You're hearing it all the time as well.
Yeah, it's like a pyramid. It's like you study the hierarchy to the lowarchy to the foot soldiers. I know that sounds strange, but
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
once you start creating a diagram of who's linked to it, just a circle with a name, and just you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. It'll take you time, but you'll figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, people don't realize that. Even I didn't realize that until my attorney pointed it out, that the judge and the opposing attorney worked together for a number of years in the DA's office. And, we thought we'd recuse the judge, and that ticked him off. That made the case worse. Well, it was going to go bad anyway, you know, because they all knew each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they've already made their mind up before they get in there.
They do.
Yeah.
And that's with a lot of cases, not just mine. They've got it all planned out of how it's going to go or how they're going to quash it, which also means just end the case and you're going to lose.
See, they talk about it out in the open and then call it confidential when you get in the courtroom. But while you're out in the lobby around all these other parents that are waiting in to determine their fate, they're talking about your stuff out loud. So you don't even have lawyer confidentiality. Nothing. And
Yeah,
then they
it's
laugh
like,
about it like they're going to go to lunch right after. Like it's
oh,
all fine. We just took these people's kids, you know?
mm-hmm.
It's,
Well, in fact, I was running a custody hearing because my two wanted to go back and forth between the houses like we had been for 10 years, like the 50-50, because that's what we had done. And so, you know, I was the non-custodial, parent that they try to suck child support out of. That's another story. But anyway,
yeah,
before the
I
before
love
the
that too.
yeah, before that hearing, the night before, they were all at a club, four men discussing. We know three of them, but we don't know who the fourth man is, discussing how they were going to just quash it and end it. And the thing that I found out later was that the opposing attorney gave money to the judge's daughter's judge campaign. See, and I think as parents, we should look and see, okay, this judge, who's given money to this judge's judge campaign? And how much? To find the opposing attorney was so cheap. He only gave that person running for judge only $1,000. That's how cheap he was.
That's a
I thought,
cheap donation.
well, I thought he would have given like 3 or 4,000 to have
Mm-hmm.
her in his pocket. That's the whole idea, right? And I don't
Yep.
think
They
any,
donate large amounts for tax reasons. Yeah.
I mean, he's a cheapskate, but it was just, you know, I don't think there should be some type of law that these attorneys cannot kick in for judge campaigns, people running for judge. It just should be
Mm.
verboten. No, you don't do that because our children are paying a heavy price, and so are we. We're trying to help each other, and I'm so proud of all of you doing this mass tort. In North Carolina, that's really impressive that you're all pulling together and doing this.
We're just trying to get answers. I'm not the one that got us in the courtroom. It was another individual. So
Mhm,
we're not no names, but I'm still there. I thank them every day for still being there.
mhm.
So
Well, that's
yeah,
great. So, do you have like meetings with other parents over Zoom or do you just talk on the phone?
we do Zoom. Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, it's good. It gives us all a chance to open up, try and figure out what's going on,
Hmm.
uh, trying to educate ourselves, get a little
Right.
bit smarter, I guess.
And have you found that when you try to educate other people, that this stuff is going on, they shut you down immediately. Like, oh, I don't want to.
If it's other parents in the beginning and they're like coming to me looking for answers, or somebody else that I know that's referred me, and then I sit them down. I say, well, what's your story, man? Tell me your story. And by their story, I'm able to tell them what's happening.
Mhm.
I'm not a fortune teller, but I just know the
Yeah,
scenario happened too many times to know any different.
right. It's the same story, different scenario.
And it can be a different state. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter where you're at. It's like, oh man, it's not good. They're going to allege this because
Yeah.
you know that narcissist mindset. And it seems like when you're in court or you're arguing, you have to put yourself in that shoe so that you know what the other person is, the angle they're coming at. And if you can't do that, then you don't know.
Well, you're also dealing with sociopaths. You're dealing with malignant narcissists, and they're sociopathic in nature as well. And your opposing attorneys are as well. And you know, any attorney that is not doing the right thing by a child makes them a child abuser.
Well, they wouldn't say that. They
Yeah, I know they
really are.
well, you know, I heard of a book called Child Abusers Wear Black Robes, you know, and they are participating in child psychological abuse along with these attorneys that allow crazy exes to shoot out silver bullets to get kids from the other ex and drive them into financial ruin and then try to get child support out of them. This is happening to so many parents I know.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I almost faced homelessness from my ex. I mean, she did everything. She called my landlord trying to get me kicked out, stopped my paychecks. I mean, you name it. Just, I think somebody was helping her the whole time.
Mhm.
These are not things she would have ever thought of on her own.
So when she signed off, what prompted her to sign off? Just out of the blue, she just wanted to quit, probably.
Well, from what I understand, reading the reports, but I don't know the whole truth, they're social worker reports. Somewhere about 9 months in, she just stopped, and she had another baby coincidentally. Keep in
Hmm.
mind, we're common law married, even though we're separated. She had a baby with her cousin, gave the child up for adoption. Yeah, that's right. I said that. Incest.
Holy cow.
And then when I found out, coincidentally, I had a social worker from DCF call me to ask me if I was the father. And I said, well, boy, if I'm the father, I don't know how that's possible. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, he's brown. I'm white. What
Mhm.
color is it? I mean,
Yeah,
you can't lie about those things, you know,
right.
genetics. And they had told me that she had a baby with her relative, and that they were going through the deal, and she left the kid at the NECU and all that. So all I know is somewhere after that, she decided to give up. She quit having visitations almost automatically. And it took a whole nother year and a half, and they were still trying to work reintegration with her, even though she wouldn't meet with them, wouldn't talk to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They painted a picture like she was a saint and she was trying to get away. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
like she couldn't do no wrong, like she's a woman.
they were probably saying you were litigious and vexatious litigants. I don't know if they were calling you that.
They tried to say I was stalking her, and all I did was stay at home and take care of my kids and clean the house.
Yeah.
Stuff that, she should have been there helping me do had she been participating in the relationship.
Mhm.
But
Sometimes when we get married, we really don't know what we're marrying. You know,
I say Facebook and Tinder, when people are doing that in the middle of the night, that's a good indication you're fixing to roll out.
mhm. Or if they say, "Hey, could you put my charge cards in your name?" Like, no.
Yeah.
That
Or can I
that's a good,
borrow money from you while I got a pocket full of it while I'm planning to leave you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or better yet, I had a dream I murdered you. What? Yeah, I dreamt I murdered you in the basement, and I dreamt that the police were on their way, and I was scrubbing the basement trying to get the blood out of the concrete because I knew they were going to shine that black light. And and that's when I woke up and I looked at him. I thought to myself, time to go. you know, uh, you don't just tell someone you had this dream.
No, maybe if you're watching a movie and you talk about something like that, but that it's almost like they're describing what they're going to do to you.
Right.
It makes you feel.
Yes. Yeah. And that's when people have to be careful. These courts are going after everybody. I don't care if you're a father or a mother. They're going after the incentives. They want it's a money thing. You are human trafficked for money as a parent. I mean, the kids are being trafficked through those channels of CPS. The parents are being trafficked financially through the court system. It's all human trafficking.
Hmm. And human trafficking ain't always sex. Sometimes it's just money.
Right?
I think they call that labor in their official definition, maybe.
Possibly. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
because
through
they get
yeah,
money.
yeah, through through legal abuse.
Hmm. Well, there's more money to, how do I say, underneath ASPA, the Americans and Safe Families Act, to hand
Mhm.
money as soon as they're in foster care instead of helping them with the reintegration factor
Mhm.
or community factor. I'm not saying these places should be banned, but they should be abolished and redone.
Yeah, there should be something there in the place, but something that is with, um, like you said, people with a higher degree of
Hmm.
knowledge, people that are maybe in their mid to late 40s that actually have families, that have raised families, know what entails to raise families and how kids behave. And, you know, one parent said, well, we're not allowed to spank the kids. And it's like, well, Princess Diana swatted Prince William, and look how great he turned out. We take away spare the rod and spoil the child. I don't think you should beat your kids and spank the hell out of them, but sometimes they might need a little swat, and it's not the end of the world. It's not going to make a traumatic experience. Like they blow things out of proportion, I found. Like, like they were trying to get me on emotional abuse. And well, you
You
said
talk
this to
bad
the
to your kids,
what was that?
saying you talk bad to your kids or something.
Yeah, like verbally abused. I was bad mouthing the father in front of the kids. That was emotional abuse. It's like, no, I was not bad mouthing. I never did that.
Yeah.
But over and over again, that's the narrative they were playing out. And luckily, I was exonerated and cleared of two emotional abuse indications back to back. Yet they destroyed my nursing career and I lost everything.
Mm.
But they don't care, they just go right. They're just destroyers.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have a thought, and I don't really know how to explain it, but I would say that when they get all these children, they get their social security numbers and they get their birth certificates. Do you ever think that when these children are adopted out and their names changes and their social security number changes, that they adopt that new identity so that they can go on and continue doing this?
That's a good
That
question.
happens. If not, they use it as a system to target those future bloodlines.
Oh, that I agree with. I totally agree that they haunt. Once you've been in the system, foster care or otherwise, I think they're going to haunt you. And
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people that have been, and their kids taken away. So it's like
For
an
doing
industry.
nothing,
But well,
for
I'm
doing
sorry.
for doing nothing, just sitting at home.
Yeah. And doing your job as a parent.
Hmm. But
In
they
fact,
call it allegations and they're facts, right?
right,
Yeah, that's how it is here too.
right. And even their documentation is so poor. Things are so poorly documented. I could read you things that they said the stepmother was 30 years old. No, she's like 2 years younger than me. She's doesn't look 30. Not aging well. But this is what they do, and the documentation is always one-sided. Have you found that with talking to other parents?
Yeah, because then the parent wants to explain their situation and they don't realize that's the most hurtful thing they can do because then they're feeding into the narcissist.
Hmm.
So what I would do is I would ask them things like, what is their issue? What are they saying? What's wrong with you? And then I'd try to think like they would,
Hmm.
and then I'd be like, okay, so you're telling me that you have a house with 2 bedrooms and you got 3 kids. Are they boys or girls?
Hmm.
Do you have bunk beds? I try to get them thinking in the right way because they'd say, oh, well, I don't have a bed. I don't have a dresser. Oh, no, there's thrift stores out here. There's these referral agencies. Oh, no, 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 no. We can help you call somebody and figure something out. Well, are you going to do it? No, 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 no. I'm going to help you help yourself. I'm not one of them.
Mm.
And a lot of times they'll give in and they'll do it because they know that somewhere in their mind it's clicking. Okay, well maybe this is what I need to do. But
Yeah.
still doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't stop. It does not stop at all. And I just, you know, it's just so discouraging, but we have to let people know that, this gives me hope that you're participating in this mass federal tort in North Carolina. This is good to hear. This is actually good news. It's too late for me and maybe other parents, but you know, this is a positive thing. And hopefully, do you know if it's going before a judge or a magistrate?
A judge.
Hmm.
But they're not making any rulings, so I'm gonna file a recusal. Because I was joined by several others and now I'm there, I feel like I'm alone. Where
Mm.
the others don't get their answers heard. I guess it's an appealable issue, is what I'm being told.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not selfish. I want everybody to get an answer.
Right. So they haven't done any discovery or they haven't gone that far.
I asked them a bunch of questions and they asked for a stay. They refused to answer. Well, they can't admit without admitting guilt. So, does a kidnapper ever really say, "Oh yeah, I did that. I did that"? No, not when
Mm-mm.
you got money. They buy time,
Yes, they do.
hoping you'll give up. They buy time.
Right. Right. Well, I'm glad you came on to the podcast. I'd like to have you back on for an update.
Oh yeah, that'd
You
be
know,
good. I'll come back.
oh, definitely. Just to keep track of what's going on. And,
Mhm.
if other parents have run into this situation, how can they reach you with any questions? How can they reach you?
KansasFactAdvocates@gmail.com, or you can contact SaveOurChildren.org, and they can help you.
And also, I interviewed attorney William Estrada from parentsrightsfoundation.org,
Hmm.
and you can also contact them as well.
Oh yeah,
Also, as soon as this happens, cpsprotect.com, they can help you right away too.
as soon as it happens.
As soon as it happens. Yeah, they want to catch that case as soon as it happens. Because if your case, sorry, my voice has been so bad, but if your case is like 3 years old, CPSprotect.com, they can't catch it right away. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But there's, again, there's, you know, um, you know, Save Our Children Truth Commission.org, and,
Mhm.
parentsrightsfoundation.org, parentsrights.org. There's so many places to turn to each other. And I've always told people, when you're going through this stuff, it's like, don't even bother your friends unless they get it. Because some of your friends maybe have not been through this or divorce, but yet they understand and get it. And some don't. Or they're too burned out to hear your story.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. They'll see the anger in you, and they'll be like, "Ooh, I've never seen them like that. I might just want to back away a minute." Like, at least that's what I observe with most
Yeah.
people. You right away know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like the war inside the head.
Yeah. Well, people should just good family members should reach out and say, "Hey, if there's anything you need, let me know. If you need, a meal or, someone to talk to." But some family members, they just leave you. And then they'll come back and say, "Well, we wanted to give you your privacy." Well,
Mm.
why don't you pull together? I don't know. Different world out there, I guess. Blood is not thicker than water.
Yeah, I had some that stuck by others. They did exactly like you just said, though. I mean, it's like weeding out the pew.
Right,
You're
right.
gonna find out. You're gonna find out whether
Oh,
you
yeah.
want it or not.
Mhm. Most definitely. So, I'm glad we talked, and don't jump off. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. And book 3, Raised by These Wolves, will be coming out possibly end of June. Join us again here with Ray Sipult in the future and other exciting guests. Thank you so much, Ray.
Thank you.